Hi everyone, welcome to this CIS 098-6 Cyber Defense session where we're going to talk about the notion of intrusion detection systems. These are important aspects and systems that we can use in order to keep our information secure and to identify when a threat or a threat actor may be trying to gain unauthorized access to our systems and our processes. So, an intrusion detection system is a device, or it could be a software application, that monitors a network or systems for any malicious activity or policy violations. Any intrusion or violation is typically reported either to an administrator or collected centrally using a Security Management and Event System, SIEM. A SIEM system combines outputs from multiple sources and uses alarm filtering. There are a few different types of intrusion detection systems that range in scope from a single computer to large networks. The most common classification are network intrusion detection systems and host-based intrusion detection systems, that is, NIDS and HIDS. An intrusion detection system that monitors important operating system files, an example of a host intrusion detection system. This makes sure that all the operating system files are not being tampered with, and where a change is detected, this will be alerted to the system administrator. An intrusion system that analyzes incoming network traffic is an example of a network intrusion detection system. It will look for things like malicious packets, IP addresses that are on known lists, on hot lists or blacklists, and essentially make sure that network traffic that is going across the network is legitimate and authorized. As is similar with intrusion prevention systems, it's also possible to classify intrusion detection systems by their classification approach. The most common ones are signature-based detection, recognizing patterns such as malware, and anomaly-based detection, which will detect deviations from a model that is identified as being good traffic. Most intrusion detection systems will make use of identification of patterns and sometimes rely on machine learning, a subset of artificial intelligence, in order to be able to learn patterns using a training set and then be able to detect, on the basis of what they have learnt, traffic in real time across a network. Keeping on with our knowledge of artificial intelligence and machine learning, we can also classify intrusion detection systems as being reputation-based, that is, on the basis of known blacklists or information that we may consume from other tools that are telling us that hosts that are bona fide, that is legitimate, and those that are known to be malicious and potentially a threat to our systems. For those of you with knowledge of networks, you may well be asking, what's the difference between an intrusion detection system and a firewall? Well, although they both relate to network security, an intrusion detection system differs from a firewall in that the traditional network firewall uses a static set of rules to permit or deny network connections. It implicitly prevents intrusions, assuming that an appropriate set of rules have been defined. However, in the case of an intrusion detection system, the intrusion detection system describes a suspected intrusion once it has taken place and will signal an alarm. An intrusion detection system also watches for attacks that originate from within the system, whereas a firewall will look from an external perspective. Intrusion detection systems are generally seen as positive. However, they do have a number of limitations and a number of ways in which they can be evaded. Noise can severely limit an intrusion detection system's effectiveness. So if we get bad packets generated from some software bugs, then they can actually corrupt the data and give us false alarms, which are a problem because we could be being told that the number of attacks that we're having is very high, but in reality it's probably going to be much lower because of false alarms. Some further limitations of intrusion detection systems are that many attacks are geared for specific versions of software that are quite often outdated. So we need a constantly changing library of signatures to mitigate those threats. Also, the IDS cannot compensate for weak identification and authentication mechanisms or weaknesses in network protocols. It's also the case that many intrusion detection systems, particularly network intrusion detection systems, can be susceptible to same problems as protocol-based attacks. And that can cause these intrusion detection systems to crash, and then the attacker is able to gain access to an essentially unprotected network. So whilst there are benefits to them, there are also drawbacks. We also need to be aware that there are a number of evasion techniques that attackers have developed in order to prevent intrusion detection being picked up. One such approach is fragmentation, which allows us to send fragmented packets, and the attacker will essentially be under the radar and bypass our intrusion detection systems because it won't match the defined attack signature. Attackers are also very good at avoiding defaults. So our TCP, Transmission Control Protocol port, utilised by a protocol, does not always provide an indication to the protocol which is being transported. So the IDS, for example, may expect to detect a Trojan on a particular port, but it might not be able to detect it if we're using different ports. There's also an opportunity for attackers to utilise approaches such as a coordinated low bandwidth attack, which will coordinate a scan amongst the security administrator's ability and scan among numerous attackers or agents, and be able to circumvent some of the knowledge and the understanding that the intrusion detection system has. Quite often, when we're talking to network administrators, they will talk about both intrusion detection systems, which will detect after an attack has been picked up, and intrusion prevention systems, which are aimed to be proactive and be able to prevent an attack before it has happened. In this session, we've taken a look at the notion of an intrusion detection system, a way in which we can understand or detect that an attack has happened, learn from that, and send signals and information. Often, we join together an intrusion detection system with an intrusion prevention system, so that we can ensure that our systems remain safe. Intrusion detection systems differ from firewalls in that firewalls are set up with predefined rules and can prevent or deny access or acceptance of network packets. Intrusion detection systems, on the other hand, are there to identify anomalies, and they can use that using a variety of different methods, including the use of signatures and the use of anomalies. We are now really bringing up and building a strong knowledge base in and around cyber defence. We've taken a look at some key concepts in which cyber defence presents itself. We've taken a look at some of the methods and the tools and the techniques that we can use in order to protect our systems, and we're starting now to develop ourselves into network security professionals. So, I look forward to seeing you soon, but bye for now.